Hello and welcome to episode 23 of the Regista Football Podcast. My name is Jack. Once again, I'm joined here by my good friend Ben. How are you doing, sir?
Jack, I am wonderful today.
I bet you are. We've heard every single response to that question throughout the season, and I can completely, at least now, I can definitively say why I know how you feel wonderful. So, congratulations will be in order.
Thank you.
I say will be in order because we'll get into it, but yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't ask you how you're doing. I know yesterday was kind of a rough day, but I know we're gonna get into that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to talk everyone through what we're going to get into today?
Yeah, absolutely. What we're gonna do is we'll do our Premier League recap, starting from the bottom and going up to the top, and then you know what, we're gonna say a little goodbye to Pep Guardiola, much deserved, and then finally a farewell to Mo Salah and Robert.
Yeah, that's sounds like a good enough show. If I could put one down, Ben. Let's start with the bottom of the Premier League. So the league in itself, we were going to do this kind of like a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't feel the point of doing it until the whole league was settled, especially after what happened again from City and Bournemouth. I would rather just spend like a good amount of time once we know the table is set. There was a game yesterday between Wolves and Burnley. It was the deadest of robbers, I would say.
Yeah.
But there was actually some jeopardy on the last day for the relegation battle. Spurs played Everton. Leeds played West Ham. Both teams at home that were going for, or at the very least, facing relegation fears. Kind of crazy day, to be honest with you. I didn't expect West Ham to beat Leeds 3-0. That's the first thing.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I expected West Ham to put everything they could out there to kind of avoid relegation, but beating Leeds 3-0 was quite impressive.
Unexpected.
Yeah.
Especially like considering the form in the last few games. I remember us chatting about when they played Brentford and they got beat 3-0 by Brentford. And to me, that was like probably the nail in the coffin at that stage. But to come out on the last day and put a performance in like that, at the very least, probably gives their fans some confidence going into next season. But Tottenham, on the other hand, Tottenham win 1-0. Palhinha again, by the way, scores the only goal in the game for them.
Of course.
Absolutely massive for Spurs to not go down. I think we've between you and I, like, we've joked about this a bunch, but once De Zerbi comes in, and I think really on there he deserves quite a bit of credit in stabilizing the club. From my perspective, in the last few games, especially after he came in, he made them way better defensively.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it was an interesting signing this close to the end of the season, and it kind of made sense, right? Now we look back on it, like you needed someone who can make sure that they stay away from relegation. If they had a caretaker, maybe that wouldn't have happened. But I think Woody came in, the team that he had to work with, he did change some things around and really play to the strengths of the people who were there, rather than trying to build his own kind of structure, at least at the end of the season. So
which I think for me, like, I have some interesting stats for you from the games that he took over. So every game in the Premier League before Roberto De Zerbi, this is since January 4th, when the rest of the managers were there, they had conceded more than 1 XG in every game. When De Zerbi comes in against Brighton, they concede 0.8 XGA. Against Wolves, 0.7. Against Villa, 0.3. Against Leeds, non-penalty XG is 0.6. Against Chelsea, 0.6. And against Everton, 0.19. And the way he did that wasn't so much making them watertight defensively, but they were just controlling the ball better, Ben, really.
That's kind of crazy. Like, he actually helped them. He also got them their first win, like league win of 2026 too.
That was Wolves.
Against the Wolves. Yeah,
fair enough to him. I think the big question now, ultimately for me, when it comes to Tottenham, is what happens now. Who stays, who goes? I think there are some changes that need to be made within the squad. Romero, after his antics near the end of the season, should go. I cannot see that guy being like retaining captaincy if he stays either way. Maddison coming back near the end of the year gave them, I'd say, not like a boost that much on the pitch, although it gave them that player that we've been saying that they need, like that creative type of attacking midfielder that I think they've been desperate for. But ultimately, I think things have to change at Tottenham. They cannot be relegated. They cannot be fighting relegation next year, and quite frankly, I don't think they will be.
Yeah, I think there has to be something that changes in the next year that actually takes them back to, top half of the table, if anything, if not UCL, or like actually getting into Europe, at least something that gets them closer to it.
How much How much do you think the injuries have played a part in where they are this year?
I mean, they have a lot of injuries,
It's been
so
bad.
I'm sure that that's been a huge part of it, and it's been like crucial injuries in crucial parts of the pitch too.
Yeah,
And so I think having inconsistency like that is going to be kind of having consistency next year is going to help them a lot more than what it has done this year. They will
yeah,
actually maybe perform because they have some people coming back. I am curious about the kind of depth that they're going to sign.
yeah.
Like they have a decent number of players, but I also see a lot of outgoings
Me too.
because of where they are in the league position. There is no Europe for them next year since they didn't win a Mickey Mouse trophy this year. So
But
yeah,
well, I think Villa are pretty happy about that Mickey Mouse trophy this year.
that's true.
But no, I think there's going to be some change at Spurs. The the one game a week thing I think does benefit them, but I think ultimately for me they need to sign goals, man.
Hmm.
When I think of like their main starting 11, I still don't think there are enough goals. They didn't replace Son, and they had. I think it's impossible to replace Harry Kane, but
Yeah,
they've definitely
absolutely.
not. They've not replaced any of those goals with the signings that they've made. So I think that should be a priority for them.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're gonna have to get some kind of attacking, like something really, really good in attack.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if Richarlison makes it through. Honestly, I don't see him being the kind of player that Deserby will hold on to. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
my fantasy hero, Richarlison, man. Dude, every single year I pick that guy and he gets crucial points for me. But
Yeah.
let's move on to kind of European chase then. So we'll start with the team that didn't make it, which would have been a surprise to everyone at the start of the season. Chelsea play Sunderland on the last game of the year. Another red card. I think that breaks the record, actually, which is insane. Malo Gusto gets sent off.
Yeah.
It's just wild, really, Ben. They've had a crazy season, Chelsea. They finished 10th, which is a awful, awful end to the season. I mean, I think there was a stage where they were 6 games without a win. I mean, six
Hmm.
games losing, which for a team as big as Chelsea is
Yeah.
crazy.
You
Rosina
know what's
gets
really
sacked.
crazy? They're the champions of the world,
Yeah,
man, and they're in 10th,
you we're talking about a Mickey Mouse trophy.
right?
Yeah, it's just absolute
Another Mickey
bollocks.
Mouse trophy. Yeah. Like how did that happen? I mean, a part of it is it's similar to the Tottenham story, right? Like you had a manager who probably could have gotten you something, and then because of whatever politics that were in the background, like you had to get rid of that manager through Maresca. I thought Maresca was
Yeah,
actually doing a pretty good job there.
me too.
Who cares if he's gonna go to who cares if he's gonna go to City next year? Like just have the guy stay for the year and let him play the kind of football that he's gonna be playing. But yeah, I feel like after that, Chelsea just didn't really have a plan on how
No.
to bring someone in who's actually going to do something. But it looks like they do now, and I am sad about that.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. But I think Rosinia's issue is he kind of opened everything up a little bit. Maresca was playing a lot of that, and I say this with complete respect, like low event meta Premier League football,
Mm.
where a lot doesn't happen. You take advantage of moments in games, like set pieces, kind of big overload moments on either side. They were doing that, and they were doing pretty well when Maresca was there. Rosinia comes and opens it up, and I think they get punished for that. I mean, in terms of personnel, I don't think their defensive line is any good. I don't particularly rate Sanchez either. So if you're leaving that consistently exposed, then you're asking for trouble. But
Yeah.
in response to the shit season, Ben, they've decided to give everything to my favorite manager, or my favorite manager to take over Liverpool, Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso has agreed I think it's a 4-year deal
Hmm.
with the title of manager, which is important. It's not head coach like Maresca or Rosina was. They've given him the managerial role. What that essentially means is he has more say on transfers. He has more say on specific structural things around the football club. But that's a huge appointment, Ben.
Yeah, I think good on them for getting someone
Yeah,
like Shabby. I think it's going to be insane. Him in the league without Europe is going to be
mm,
crazy, man. Like it, yeah. Like I think that is the right signing that Chelsea needed to make.
agree.
Took advantage of every opportunity for it.
Yeah, I mean, from by all accounts, I don't think anyone was even speaking to Xabi Alonso at that time. So they
Yeah.
basically had free run at it. I understand why he'd have felt a little bit apprehensive to take that job, but with all the power they gave him, I think a young manager, like a young, ambitious manager like him, being given that power by a company with so much potential spending power, I can understand why he takes that job. I think it's a bit of a basket case of a football club, but I understand why he'd take it. There's so much talent in that squad. He can spend a bunch of money because of how they consistently bring in revenue. And like you said, I think they're going to be dangerous next year, man, with one game a week.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
For sure. Let's move up then. So Brighton secure Conference League football. Brighton had a really topsy-turvy season. They were really lacking consistency for a lot of it. And near the end of the league season, they went on a massive run of games, which I think, to me at least, shows the type of league season everyone was having. I think all of those kind of like European spots, you don't need to be great to get them, quite frankly. You just need to find some consistency in times of the season and find ways to put some points on the board. You don't need to be imperious like you have to compete for the league, but I think Bournemouth are kind of like a symbol of that, Ben.
Yeah, I think
Brighton.
Yeah, they were. I feel like they were consistent enough to get high enough, and I think another part of it too is like, I mean, if you are in this league this year with how much European competition is happening and how much English teams are winning the European competitions, like the top 8 get into Europe. That's wild. So it's just kind of like that. You'd expect Brighton to be in that kind of position, like, bottom of the top. And I think a part of it is just them getting and staying consistent in that area to be able to get there. I felt like Herzler, like there was a moment or there was a period when I was like, what are they going to do with this guy? Like, how is he still here? But I think, Brighton are, keen on business and they kept him on to make something happen. But I feel like he's probably going to be finding another job soon, just because I'm sure other teams are looking for managers who've, proved themselves.
It's weird. I think they'd be silly to let him go after securing Conference League football. I guess my argument is not my argument, but more so my question. Do you think they're favourites going into that tournament? It kind of have to be, right?
I mean,
Palace are in the final.
Yeah, Palace are in the final. Yeah, I guess they could be going into that tournament. Yeah, Conference League.
Crazy.
Who else is in there though next year?
I think there are some kind of like decent teams going in it, but I've seen like Palace create upsets throughout the whole of this Conference League run that they're on. I think just the overall spending power of the Premier League just makes Premier League teams in those types of competitions incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Especially like if you think of the nature of their squad, they're all young players. If you play like an FM save with Brighton, in 5 years they're competing for the league, basically, because of how young all their players are. I think I'm very interested to see how they do ultimately, and I do think I personally think they're going to be favorites going into that competition.
Yeah, I could see them getting something out of it. That'd be crazy for them to get a European trophy next year.
Yeah, let's move up. So I'd say like one of the fairy tale stories, really. And I was talking to Shade and Eddie about this for reference. Those are, and we have 2 friends who are Toons Newcastle fans.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely bitter about Sunderland getting promoted and then earning Europa League football in their first season up. A bit of a fairy tale story, but I'll give you a really interesting stat, Ben. In terms of XG, they should have been relegated.
Yeah. I felt like they were like outperforming their XG the entire season. Yeah.
It's like Villa, ultimately. Like Villa, if you look at, I think Villa 11th in the XG table.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can take advantage of those moments, keep it tight at the back, like Sunderland have managed to do, it pays dividends. They're in Europe. They're in the Europa League, which is also quite fun. I'm not sure how well they're going to do in doing that. In fact, I'll give you an early prediction. I think they face relegation next year.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think it's going to be too much for them to manage Europe and the league?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. Especially like if you consider they didn't play like the 6th place best team, did they? If we're being honest.
No.
And that's kind of my argument. Maybe they finished 7th actually, but I don't think they played like that. And I'm not being salty because I have nothing against Sunderland. I hope they do well, but I think it's going to be a bit much for them. But congratulations either way, man. Like that's such a crazy first season to be back in the league.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. I think like when they first got promoted, like you could see like they had something to fight for. They just didn't want to get into relegation places, and very quickly in the first 5 games, you're like, okay, they might do this. They might stay up. They're not going to yo-yo. But yeah, it's
I agree.
pretty great that they actually got into a European position.
And at least for me, it's a refreshing change from the newly promoted teams being absolute dross and going down in the first season as well. Like Leeds have
Hmm.
managed to cement their status again, so I'm happy to see that, dude. Like I don't
Hmm.
want the teams that get promoted to completely get relegated again. So fair play to Sunderland. They play Europa League football next year. The team that finished above them was Bournemouth. They make European football for the first time in their history.
Hmm.
Iraola deserves a huge amount of credit, man. I didn't put that on the notes, but that's one of the big things I want to talk about. He lost his back line in the summer, basically all of
Hmm.
his defenders. He loses Howson, he loses Zabani, he loses Kirkes, and they're better. He is a really, really good football manager.
Yeah, I think he was able to find a way to make it work. He knows how to use his team really well and
Yeah,
like hurt his opposition really well. Yeah, I think tactically he does. He knows like he moves with the punches, right? Like
he
he
does.
knows what to do next, no matter what it is. And is it always the best? No, but like I think with the research that he's given, and also the kind of recruiting that Bournemouth does, like they find some gems, man.
Yeah,
Like some absolute gems out there.
I mean, mate, we saw, I think Krupi came into his own this year. He looks
Hmm.
really impressive. I think Evan Elson continues to impress. God,
Ryan,
Trufair, Ryan. Yeah, they lose
yeah,
Semenyo in
yeah.
December, and they hardly look affected by it.
Hmm.
Really, really impressive team, man. I'm kind of sad that he's not going to be the one to take them into the Europa League, quite frankly, because I'd have
Hmm.
loved to see that. And for me, Bournemouth played the best football this year, and I actually don't think it's close.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't lean into the meta like pretty much all of the rest of the teams did.
Hmm.
Iraola was kind of steadfast in the type of football he wanted them to play: high energy, high pressing, attack quickly from back to front. They're really entertaining to watch, and I'm excited to watch them in the Europa League.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah, absolutely. They were a really they were a good side to watch. I
they
enjoyed
are.
watching them a lot this last week, especially. So I'm really happy that
Of course, you did.
that you brought that to the team.
Sure. So yeah, they finished sixth. In fifth are the mighty Redmen. Not so mighty this year. I'd say they scrape into fifth. What gets them into fifth is an Erling Haaland goal, quite frankly. We
Hmm.
draw on the last day of the season, which would have been enough for us to kind of come fifth. But ultimately, it's a disappointing season from my perspective as a Liverpool fan, especially if you could consider the expectations that we came in with in this season. Everyone looked at Liverpool as probably the title favourites after the transfer window we had.
Hmm.
And coming fifth, I'll say this with hindsight: if you offered me fifth and a Premier League win before last season, I'd have absolutely ripped your hand off for it. But fifth as a whole after the transfer window we had is a bit of a disaster for me. Keeps us in the Champions League at the very least. But I think the story of the season really is this season is the gap or the bridge to a new Liverpool era. How they decide to go about it next season, I'm not quite sure yet. But ultimately, fifth is a bit of a disaster of a season for me.
Yeah, especially after coming off of a title. I think
Yeah,
that's kind of hard to take in. Obviously, there's a lot of things that happened over the summer, specifically with Diego Jota,
yeah,
and I think that impacted the team. And I'm sure I know that we've talked about it. I think another part of that too is just kind of I think it was also the anticipation of this being a change, right?
yeah.
Like everyone knew this is most likely to be Mo's last season.
Thing
Uh,
is, he signed a 2 year contract, which is
yeah.
I'm not sure if he signed a 2 year contract because Liverpool were planning on selling him with a year. They let him go on a free anyway. I just think it's bizarre. I think lots of things have happened this season that we don't quite know about. I'm looking forward to kind of like reading Virgil's biography in the next 10, 15 years and getting good
Mhm.
understanding of everything that's happened. But it's been an unmitigated disaster for Liverpool. An unmitigated disaster with a bunch of mitigating circumstances.
Yeah.
But I'm happy the league season is over, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And we go into next season. I hope they attack the transfer window how they need to because there's loads of holes in the squad. We have a bunch of movement coming in and out as well. Don't know what Kanate is doing. I think Salah's gone. Robertson is gone. Virgil and Allison should be staying, I think. So there's
Mhm.
still a lot of turnover that needs to happen. And I hope Liverpool can at least do better than this next year, I want to challenge for the fucking league title, man. I don't want to be fine for European places personally.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go to fourth. So Aston Villa finished fourth. Actually on paper, not even on paper, they have a great season. They, like I said, they do overperform their XG massively throughout the season. So I'd call it a bit of a false position, but that makes me sound salty. So I'm going to say they had a very good season. Finished fourth, win the Europa League, and they destroy in the Europa League final. Like they don't look like they belong there. They look like a Champions League team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like they are a Champions League team. They just kind of missed the positions last year. So
that's what it is, really. I guess a lot of what I'm seeing now is how do they push on? Because if we think about it this way, their spending ability has been kind of difficult in the last couple of years. Like they've not been able to kind of push on the way that a Liverpool or an Arsenal or United would be able to, because they are restricted by PSR to buy additional players to get them to the next level. I think the Europa League win helps in terms of overall prize money. I don't know how much you get for that, but I think if they can attack the transfer window, they might be able to move a couple of players on. I think they can be a real threat coming into next season as well.
Yeah, I think if they're able to make some smart moves in the transfer window, it doesn't have to be big moves, right? I think they have a pretty decent team overall. I think there have been some injuries that's kind of impacted them throughout the season. So I think like just making sure that they can manage those injuries. I think what Watkins has done the last couple of weeks, if they can just like reignite that in him, he could be a great striker for them.
Yeah.
He has been a great striker in the past. I mean, he still has 16 goals this year, man. Like, I don't know why we're not talking about him a little bit more.
I agree.
But like, but I think there is definitely some issues with depth. I don't know. Like, they need to find something in the midfield that does a little bit more, like more in the base of the midfield that does a little bit more and is a bit stronger. But apart from that, I think they have an opportunity next year to really go far, both in Champions League as well as the league. If you think about them, they got relegated and promoted in the last decade, right?
Sure.
So like it's kind of wild how good they've done since then.
Yeah. Emery is like, for me, he's like a stability manager. I don't think he's ever gonna take an average team and take them to winning the league. I just don't see them being put in that argument. But to create stability, especially after the mess Steven Gerrard left him in, I love you, Steven, but stay away from top tier management for a while. He took them over. He stabilized them as a club. He turned a club that was in a pretty negative state to winning Europa League. He is the master of that competition. There's no doubt about that. A funny stat, not even a stat, but a funny fact is every single club he has won the Europa League with has the word Villa in it. So Sevilla, Villarreal, and Aston Villa. So I thought that'd be quite funny, but I'm curious to see how they do. Some people are calling Unai Emery one of like the best managers in the league. I definitely think he's top 5. I'm not sure about the best.
Yeah, I don't know if he is one of the better managers. I think he's one of the best managers in the Premier League this year.
Pound for pound.
Yeah, like what he's done with that team and what he continues to do. And, I'm not saying that lightly. I have feelings for Unai, personal, deep-seated hate for him for many reasons. But, I can't really blame him for what he's done with Villa. Yeah. Good on him. Good on that team.
I agree. Let's move on. So third, Michael Carrick turns what looked to be a disaster season for United into actually one of the better ones they've had in the last decade. Amorim, and it's funny because I actually like Amorim as a coach. I just don't think he was the right fit for Man United at all. Michael Carrick takes over and gets the job full time by the end of the season. Kind of big statement, really. It shows they've given him some confidence to go into next season. How they attack the transfer window, I think, will be incredibly important. I'm already seeing links to the Atalanta midfielder of Ederson, and that is not good enough for me. That is not a good enough signing, at least if you want to compete for the league.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to replace some of those big names that you've lost in the last couple of years. Yeah, Casemiro's leaving. Yeah, I think Bruno Fernandes could be gone. I don't know.
I don't know. I think he'll probably retire at United, man.
You think so?
He won Player of the Year this year. You could see what Carrick did incredibly well from my perspective, and we spoke about it. Like he lent into much more of that kind of like not a lot happens until we decide it does. type of football. And if you have Bruno Fernandes as like the anchor to do that, you can do a bunch. He wins Player of the Year. He breaks the assist record. There's absolutely no doubt that he's a pivotal part of this Man United side. And honestly, I think they need to build on this. Third place still isn't good enough for a club of the stature of Manchester United, but we need to figure out whether this is the ceiling or the floor. And I think the transfer window, how they approach that, the types of profiles that they bring in will be really important as to how they perform the league next year. They'll have many more games, which I think is important. They've played, I think by January, Declan Rice played more games than Manchester United did the whole of the season.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to adapt their squad to be able to do that. But I'm a hater of Man United, I am, but you can't really argue. They did well.
Yeah, they did well. I mean, they're in third. They actually did what the Spurs were supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
They took a season that fell apart last year and turned it around.
Yeah.
They made a decision about the manager early on and made the right decision about the manager early on, brought someone in who could actually turn it around. And it's kind of incredible that they're in third, considering where they were at the end of last year.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're going to go into now the title picture. Let's talk about the club in Manchester. Man City secure a domestic cup double, but end up finishing second in the league. They miss out on the league, like I said, but they end up winning the FA Cup and Carabao Cup. They beat Chelsea in the FA Cup final, and they beat Arsenal in the League Cup. For most clubs, that's like a genuinely incredible season, and I don't think you could take that away from them. For me, I'd be delighted with a cup double.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could think about it that way. I guess the way that I think about it is they just bottled the treble, man. I can't believe they bottled that treble. Geez, what a fucking bottle job. It was in their hands. They didn't have the mentality to get there. I guess it just takes it takes something different to get there.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The points that they dropped near the end of the season, the mentality that they've spoken about for years, quite frankly, wasn't there. But for me, I don't think it's a mentality problem. I think it's a quality problem. This isn't the same Manchester City team of old. It's not. No Kevin De Bruyne. None of that. Fewer guys that can grab the game by the scruff of the neck and make it their own. No Ilkay Gundogan. They don't have guys like that. What they do have is a lot of quality. I think Pep found a style of football that the team could play consistently a bit too late into the season to make a really big push. They get knocked out of the Champions League as well. I think overall, like I said, I would be delighted with this season as a Liverpool fan. A domestic cup double is a really good season, but for them, I think their club makeup, they want major trophies. They haven't been able to do that. I think the signings of Guehi and Semenyo really changed their fortunes as well.
Yeah, I felt like when they made those signings, it was, Guehi was linked with Liverpool. Semenyo was the hottest winger in the league.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wanted them, and that really helped them turn it around. Even especially when you look at January of that period in time when they just were doing awful and they had to do something during that window to bring someone in, and they did. And they made some astute signings, and that helped them overall get 2 trophies.
Yeah, they turned it on late, like I said, picked up silverware, showed that they're still fantastic, but they're not quite that team of old, but are still one of the best teams in the country. And I'm curious to see how they end up looking with Maresca next season.
Yeah, I think, Maresca started working with Pep, and I think will be kind of a good transitionary manager. I don't know how long he's going to be there. I don't think he's going to have the same kind of tenure like Pep.
No chance.
I don't know anyone who really can, honestly, at City, but I think he's going to be the right manager who knows the team well enough, who can continue playing a similar kind of football and, put his own little flair in it as well.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting team next year.
I agree. Let's move on to top of the league then, Ben. Arsenal finished top of the pile in a huge season for the club. First major trophy in 22 years. And I can imagine as an Arsenal fan, Ben, it feels much sweeter finishing second in a row 3 times to finally win it in the way you did.
Yeah, I think that's what, that's the big one. Sorry, give me a sec.
Good.
Yeah, it's one of the best things ever, man.
Yeah.
It's so silly. It's so silly how much it means, but it really is.
I fully get it, man. Throughout the whole of this time, we've spent a lot of time together the space of the last few months. And I always told you that I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I know the pain of not winning something like that for a really long time. And when it does finally happen, the pain of before makes it even better.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why I led with that, because I think that's a really important thing to mention. This isn't a one season build for Arsenal. You give Arteta the keys ultimately, and you let him build something in his image, and it finally leads to this situation. It is the sweetest way of winning it. It is.
Yeah, it is. I like the story behind, and there's a lot of haters out there for Arsenal and whatever. Like, good on you. Like banter's fun, but I think like as a supporter who has been around, who saw like the Wenger era, who saw the panic when Cesc was sold to bring some aging center mid from Everton over, and then like watch that guy captain your team, then leave, and then go work for Pep, and you're like, this guy, like this backstabber. But then it was his plan all along to come in and do something that hasn't been done in so many years. And absolutely the 3 years of almost there, the next season, Netflix
Yeah.
coming to an end in the way it did, like I think like it's just wonderful. I wish we could have done it at the Emirates. I wish it could have been a game that we had to win at the Emirates, and that's mainly just for like the fans and the players at the Emirates. But however it happens, and it feels huge. Yeah, it feels wonderful to kind of just like take it over the line. I was at the Bluefoot yesterday, and it was just great to be with like that group of fans and how much it means to everyone, and just celebrate that trophy lift. Or it's a good time.
Yeah, and I think like ultimately for me, like sitting on the outside, there is a lot of hatred towards Arsenal. I try not to partake in any of that really, because I think it's all a bit nauseating.
Mm.
I think I understand having rivalries for specific football clubs, like I really do. But like to be so like frivolous and wanting them to fail, I don't agree with that. Especially at least from my perspective as a Liverpool fan, we've been screwed by the team you were competing with time after time, dude. Like I cannot sit here and say I wanted City to win the Premier League. I'd never want City to win the Premier League. So congratulations to you. I know how much this means. What were the defining moments of the win for you? Give me three.
Defining moments of the win. I think for me, like that mentality of switching on at the end of the season when we had everything to lose.
Yes.
When it was like when people were breathing down our necks, when City was breathing down Arsenal's necks. I think playing a new kind of football, that Fulham game, that 3-0 Fulham game was like some of the best football I'd watched Arsenal play. That was huge. I think that brought a lot of hope back to the players and to the fans to be like, oh wow, wait, we can do that. Like we can play good football. That was one of like the biggest moments. Number two, I would probably say us getting to the Champions League final also was really big. Like it means so much to do well in multiple competitions at the same time. And I think that was a final boost that we needed at the beginning of May to be like, okay, you know what? We've secured this. This is the first time we've done this in a very long time. What, 20
years?
2000, yeah, 20 years. Yeah, 2006. So yeah, that was, I think, a big moment. And I'm going to talk about this last moment. Give me a sec.
Take your time, man. Like, again, I know what this means. You should have saw me fucking blubbering to myself on the couch when we won the league last year.
Yeah.
I was drastically hungover after the night before, but like, I couldn't hold back the tears. Mate, I couldn't hold back the tears fucking yesterday. So
yeah,
I feel you in this situation, but let me know when you're ready.
Yeah. I was thinking about this for the last week or so, and I'm like, what was the most important goal this year? And you actually said it this morning in our group chat, and I was like, I'm gonna leave for the podcast, and I will still say this is the most important goal. Martinelli at home against City is the goal that won us the league.
Yeah,
I think for me personally, and I'm emotional about it because Martinelli made a post this morning, and it looks like a goodbye post. You know, maybe it's not. He's just emotional. He's just really happy, but it looks like a goodbye post, and like he is one of those guys who has been here since the beginning.
He has. You're right. Yeah, and I remember like he's been there since the beginning. Yeah, and I'm reading this. It does sound like a goodbye.
Yeah,
but it's also very emotional.
Yeah,
and they would be, like not only if the fans see them lose 3 years in a row, the fucking players have to be the ones to pick themselves back up and deal with it, man.
Yeah. I think that was the goal that I was thinking about before he even made that post, and I was like, man, if that didn't go in, if he didn't show up at that moment, especially in the season that he's had where he's kind of drifted off, right? And he hasn't been one of the main strikers, main goal scorers in the last 2 years, really. But it shows like how important this is for how important every single goal is for everyone.
Yeah.
I think that was the moment of, all right, like, yeah, maybe we're not going to win at City, but at least we can get a point. We'll fight for the point after we let in a goal early. Like that is what we needed. And that kind of defines the mentality at Arsenal is. And we make fun of Arsenal. I make fun of Arsenal. Everyone makes fun of Arsenal for 1-0 to the Arsenal. Playing Haram ball, getting corners, and set piece goals. But like those are the moments that define football, and those are the moments that help you win. And I think that was probably one of the biggest goals for me if I think about it through this year.
I love it. Next one I have to ask you is, who do you think stepped up when mattered most? Do you mind if I answer this first?
Yeah, please.
I think it was David Raya. I think he's been your player of the season, and I don't think it's close. The amount of points David Raya saved you throughout the season, you have played in a style a lot of the time where you are a bit balls to the wall and you are defending your box, and it has been scrappy at times, but the amount of fucking crazy saves this guy has made, this for me is actually the player of the year, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what you guys have achieved, you could not have done it without this guy. You cannot have. And I've been so like frivolous and saying Alisson Becker is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. He's not the best goalkeeper in the Premier League anymore. That's David Raya for me.
Yeah, I'd have to. Yeah, I think it's his third Golden Glove in a row.
Crazy.
The last two, I would say, were because he had this defense that would not let any ball through. Mm-hmm. But this year, the defense has kind of broken down, and David has been the guy who's really actually saved the season overall. Yeah, I totally agree. I think he stepped up when it mattered the most.
Yeah.
Overall, 100%. I think there was, people doing it throughout the pitch. I think Bukayo in the end of the season doing it when he needed to produce something.
Yeah.
Was important, but absolutely agreed. It's David Raya.
And I guess more importantly, what comes next for this Arsenal team? You and I have had conversations, and I stand by this. This needs to be the start of something here.
Yeah.
Winning one league for this club is fucking massive, and you cannot take that away. Drink that in for as long as you want. When this next season starts, you cannot be getting knocked out of the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup in the third and fourth round anymore. If you want to be one of the teams that are looked at in terms of Premier League dynasty, you can't be throwing these trophies away. You should be hungry for them all. And I don't think it comes down to your players not wanting to do that, but I think it comes down to like, you got to attack everything that's in front of you. Everything, you know?
Yeah, I think, like have to keep winning. It'd be great to go back-to-back years getting with the Premier League. Like I would love that. That'd be fantastic. Like when you look at the graphic of Premier League winners and you see all the badges up there and you see like the United, like just pasted through the beginning of the Premier League, then you see Arsenal with their 2 wins and you kind of see the other teams. And then the last 10 years, you see all the City badges up there and then Liverpool up there a couple of times as well. Like I need to see more Arsenal up there. Like a double next year is absolutely needed, like whether it's international or domestic double.
Next year?
It's going to happen this year, so I'm not worried about this year. I was talking about next year. So yeah, this year a double, and then keep that going would be what that team needs. Yeah, I think you don't stop with signings; you continue. Like we've made some massive signings in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
like we can afford to do it again. Like keep doing it. I think you have the backing now of the owners, now that they see what happens when you make those important signings, and you have that squad depth. And the Kroenke's being out and lifting that trophy. Kroenke's a serial winner, man. He's going to want to win it again, so he's going to put some more money into it.
I think some of it for me comes down to this has happened at almost the perfect time. Like Pep is leaving. Pep is and we'll get into Pep in a minute. Trust me, I'm gonna spend the next 15 minutes glazing him. But Pep is the guy that I think will attack everything all the time. He finds a way to get his teams to go again and go again and go again and go again. He's not here anymore, man. Like, you are the last league champions. You will be favorites going into next year, depending on how you sign players. I think the mentality should be everything is in front of us. We are the best team in the country, and we're going to attack everything.
Yeah. I think there's a lot for us to do. There's a lot up for us to take on, and I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a good, I hope it's, I think it's going to be a good couple of years for us.
For sure. And lastly, I want to say from my perspective, it's not been a great season for me as a Liverpool fan. But I genuinely mean it when I say congratulations, dude. I know what this means to you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I feel very lucky that we were doing this podcast a year that this happens, and I know that we talk about a lot how you wish you were doing this last year, but I think I'm very excited to see what that looks like for you in the next couple of years as well, and it'll be fun to talk through. Again, it's winners now, and in my mind, like yeah, let's celebrate this week. Let's go win UCL, but after we win the UCL, reset and get ready for next year. You kind of have to start it all up again.
Facts. That is the Premier League recap. Let's go on to the next segment. Let's say goodbye to what I think is the best manager in the Premier League era. I know people will say Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson 100% deserves to be in the conversation with what he achieved, but 20 trophies in 10 years is just monumental for me. Pep had a stamp on football, which is unlike anything I think we've ever seen. He had non-league teams trying to build from the back. He had teams playing false nines here, there, and everywhere. His trope for me, or his thing, is just this relentless consistency to win again and again and again. I don't like Manchester City, but what I will tell you is I saw a photo with Bernardo Silva yesterday behind all of those trophies, and it is just fucking crazy what he managed to achieve in this country. And I remember when he first joined, and like you have the dickheads like Martin Keown and fucking Danny Murphy. Oh, can he play that like tippy tappy style of football over in our league? Well, not only does he do that, he makes everyone else play that style of football because of how good he is at it, and he wins 10 trophies and he wins 20 trophies in 10 years. It's just such a ridiculous achievement, and I don't think it will ever be replicated again.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, it's he has really changed football and the way that people watch football, the way that people play football. Yeah, it's his impact, and like he did it in Spain, he did it in Germany, he's done it in England. And so it's like he takes his football and he knows what it means to win titles. And if we think about how successful he's been here, right? He's had a 71% win rate at Man City, averaged 2.3 points.
Mad. It's wild. Mad.
Yeah.
Like, again, that is not being replicated again. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous. It is an absurd level of consistency. And I think for me, it was one of the biggest question marks on him was the ability to kind of rebuild and go again. We're not going to see him with this version of City, but I'd argue he's done it once. He did it once when he won the league in his second year, that Centurions league or that Centurions team. He did it again, and then they won fucking 4 in a row, man. Like, they are a winning machine under him. I'm curious to see how they end up changing, and they won't be as consistent because of the man he is and what he does. I think the biggest thing that's always impressed me so much about him is he is on the the ground floor when it comes to tactical innovation. Like, he changes a bunch of stuff consistently. He was the person to really bring back the inverted fullbacks. Then everyone started doing it and copying him doing it. He's changed it this year as well, where both fullbacks are basically box crashers. He is a remarkable football manager, and I'm incredibly excited to see where he goes next.
Yeah. What do you think he's going to be doing? Do you think he's going to be going international? Do you think he's going to go to Italy?
I don't know, mate. The thing is I would like to see him in Italy because those clubs don't have the spending power that his 3 previous clubs have been. So I would like to see what he could do with an Italian giant like Milan or Juventus. But I could see him taking over Spain. Even for a bit. Maybe he takes over PSG when Enrique is done. That's another option for him as well. But there isn't one club in the world that doesn't want Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, that's true.
So he pretty much has the pick of everything, We're losing such a important part of Premier League history with Pep Guardiola. And I think for me, what I'd like to add to this too, in the last couple of years, you might disagree with me here, but I think it's quite important. As a person of stature, or as a person that people sit and listen to, some of the humanitarian stuff he has spoken about within the last couple of years with his platform makes me love the man even more.
Yeah. I think that's something we don't talk about enough. People who have the platform and don't say things about what's going on in the world and standing up for what's right in the world. He's done a good job. I wish my manager would do more of that. I wish my team would do more of that. And what he has done, what he's used his platform for is just, and he continues to do it. I really can't not but admire that, even if he's managing city, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's well said. But yes, Pep Guardiola. Curious, like I said, I'm curious to see how they end up doing post Pep. I mean, I can almost guarantee the same levels of consistency won't be there, but the City hierarchy will want that to happen, and they will strive to make that happen. So we'll see how Maresca does. But farewell, Pep. I'd say it's been a pleasure. Most of it's been fucking terrible for me. We've won the league twice in that period. Without you, we probably win it 4 times, and we're talking about Jurgen in one of these positions instead. But
yeah.
I wish him the best. That's for sure. Let's go on to saying goodbye. This segment's going to be like farewell to Salah and Robertson. I had a tactical piece prepared. I did a lot of stuff on the drop off of Mohamed Salah this season, and when I heard that he was leaving, I just didn't want to focus on that anymore. He hasn't been as good this year, that's for sure. There's no doubt about that. But what he's brought me as a Liverpool fan is unlike anything I've personally experienced before. The way I think about it is the sad part is, like I said, I might never see a player as good as him again. But the part that makes it easy is he made that well worth it for me. To see a player with his elite levels of mentality be so consistent for the football club that I love, I am incredibly lucky to watch Mohamed Salah play football for Liverpool. And his relentless consistency, season after season after season, scoring 20 plus goals, changing his game as he gets slightly older. Yeah, what more can I say about this guy? He's Liverpool's top scorer in the Premier League era. He is Liverpool's top assister. He broke that yesterday, beat Steven Gerrard's record. Mm-hmm. The Chelsea flop that moves to Liverpool for 35 million leaves Liverpool as one of the best Premier League players ever been.
Yeah, Mo Salah is another one of those people who have kind of changed how you look at football and what you think of football, right? He's changed the community itself. Yeah, that city's gonna be sad without him.
Yeah, it's funny because yesterday morning I chose to watch the game at home instead of going out like I was planning to, mainly because I just kind of wanted to see the Anfield send-off and be able to hear everything, and it was worth it for me, man. To sit on the couch, to watch Mohamed Salah basically get sung to by the cop. He's typically not been an insanely emotional man, but to see him cry clapping in front of the cop, they sing Diogo Jota's song to him as well. It's a beautiful moment. It's a painful moment because we know we won't get to see him play in red again, but it's a moment that I think signs him off in the way he deserves to be signed off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get into some of the memorable stuff that I've prepared for him. We're going to get into memorable games first. I've got a few jotted down here. The first one is the Roma Champions League game. The date for this is April 24th, 2018. And yeah, he has been here this long. Liverpool win 5-2 on the night. The funny thing actually about it is Alisson Becker is in goal. Incredible atmosphere. It's one of those first Champions League nights where I really felt like, yeah, this is changing. Jurgen has truly changed everyone from doubters to believers, and the players on the pitch are the ones putting that into practice week in, week out. Salah in this game gets 4 GA. The first goal he scored was an absolute belter. It was like one of the ones that you think of as that trademark Mohamed Salah goal, cuts in on running down the right side, running down the wing, cuts in, hits it with his left foot, top curler into top bins, leaves Alisson completely guessing where it's going because of how it curves. It's a great goal, and he doesn't celebrate it because he's respectful. He came from Roma. The second goal is kind of he runs through own goal, trailing defenders, and Alisson kind of comes out as he does to try and smother the ball. Salah almost slows down as he's doing it and just dinks it over him. Great finish. 2 assists as well, one for Mane, one for Firmino. That was an incredible game, and that was one of the, like I said, that was really one of the first games in the Champions League. We had a couple in that season, but that was the first one where I thought, fuck, we can really do this. And we made the final that year. We didn't win it, but we made the final that year. Second one is the Rangers Champions League. Mohamed Salah was fucking pissed for being dropped for that game. He wasn't dropped, he was rested, but he comes on and he scores the fastest Champions League hat-trick ever, Ben.
Yep.
Scores 76, 80, 81. The goals aren't that important, but first goal finishes across goal, really nice finish. The second goal is a really good ball by Jota. He takes it down on the edge of the box, creates a bit of room and side foot chips it over the keeper. It's a really good goal. And then the third goal is a trademark Salah goal. Finds space on the right, opens his body, finishes across goal. Absolutely wonderful. And just showed Jurgen, probably shouldn't drop me for these games, Jurgen. Yeah. This is what I can do in such a short space of time if you let me. And then the third most memorable game was, man, I remember this. I was living in Portland, Oregon at the time, and I was in a gas station waiting for Nacy, my wife, And the first goal, it's just this pure levels of relentlessness from him. Kind of bounces. So he scores a hat trick at Old Trafford. I think he might be the only opposition player to ever do it in the Premier League. And he is the Manchester United fans. Listen to this. He is the owner of your football club. He is. He scored more goals than any of your players at Old Trafford for a long period of time. Don't give me none of that shit. He is the owner of your football club. Bounces around the box, kind of after a shot from Salah, like Keita picks it up and cuts it back for Mo. It's just this relentless pursuit to score this goal. The second one, Salah finds space, completely unmarked in the box. Very Man United banter error. Jota carries and beats a man, slides it to Salah. Really good finish into the bottom right. And then the third goal is Henderson plays this insanely good Trivela pass from deep into midfield as Salah's running off the back of the last defender. Salah picks it up, he's kind of running through on goal and just dinks it past De Gea. It is a wonderful goal and finishes the hat trick. We beat them 5-0 on the day. Mm-hmm. And he has given me some of those moments. He was a big part of the 7-0 Anfield. He was a big part of this 5-0 too. That is something they will never have over us that we have over them, and part of it is because of Mohamed Salah. Memorable goals. The first one is actually, I'll tell you a funny story about this. I was in Paris with a really good friend of mine. We were doing all of the touristy stuff in Paris, but Liverpool were playing Everton. Mm-hmm. I was in the Louvre for this. We were queuing to see an exhibit in the Louvre, and this is the Everton Puskás goal. Salah kind of cuts inside, beats basically 3 men, and he curls it absolute top bins in the snow. And I was told by security to calm down because of how loud I was reacting to that goal. But that is one of the most memorable goals from Mohamed Salah for me. The second one, actually, and these two are quite similar, the ones after this. It was a goal versus Spurs. Do you remember when he beats 3 men in the box? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people don't give him credit. He's not the most graceful dribbler. He's not Eden Hazard, but he is efficient at it. He's really good at moving the ball into spaces and manipulating the ball where he needs to create space for shots. And this was exactly that. He beats 3 men in the box, an insanely tight finish past Lloris. Ridiculous goal. And then the Premier League game after Spurs against City, he does it again. He scores, he beats 3 players, destroys them. Again, an insanely tight angle, very similar type of finish, and puts it past Ederson. And I remember that. I was just giggling to myself. It was what the hell are we watching here? It is the definition of a man that is so relentless in these big games that he will stand up and be counted consistently. And that's Mohamed Salah. The next goal that I want to remember is the goal versus Chelsea. He takes the ball kind of really wide, and it's funny because this finish is very unlike Salah. Salah is very much the guy that picks up the ball kind of on the edge of the box and will curl it, but this one he just fucking rattles it. He hits it as hard as he can and flies past the goalkeeper. It's 25 yards out. Jurgen has a quote about this goal, and it's, "If there is no net, the ball is still flying." It was just a ridiculous finish. The last one is the goal versus Manchester United. Really good work by Alisson to understand that the last man is Daniel James for Man United, and we're winning 1-0 at that stage, but he kicks it really long to Mohamed Salah. It feels like an eternity from when Mohamed Salah picks up the goal to slot it past De Gea, but he picks it up. Daniel James is on his back, and Mohamed Salah just holds him off like a child for the whole of the time he's on his back. Puts it past the keeper, and at that moment, Liverpool fans start to sing, "We're going to win the league, we're going to win the league, now you're going to believe us, we're going to win the league." And that was the first part, for me as a Liverpool fan in that season, where I felt we were going to go and win the league title. And that was because of that goal and just the definitive performance Liverpool put in on that day. Last but not least, let's get into his seasons. I picked his 2 best seasons, and we can just see how ridiculous this man is. His first season for Liverpool, he gets 44 goals and 15 assists in 52 games. He broke the Premier League goal-scoring record in a single season with 32 and 38. He won PFA Players Player of the Year, Premier League Player of the Year, Football Writers Association Player of the Year. He scores 20 goals in the Premier League before Christmas as a right winger. It is fucking absurd. Mm-hmm. His last season, where he basically gives Liverpool the Premier League, 34 goals and 23 assists in 52 games. First time with fans in over 30 years that we get to live the Premier League, and a lot of that is to do with Mohamed Salah's performances. He set a new Premier League record for most goal involvements of 47 in a 38-game season. Becomes the first player to score an assist against all opposing teams in a single season. Set a record by scoring on the opening day for the 9th time. Moved into 3rd place all-time Liverpool scorers. Won PFA Player of the Year, Premier League Player of the Year, Football Writers Association Player of the Year. When I talk about Mohamed Salah, I talk about not only a figure of football, but a genuine legend of Liverpool Football Club. And it is devastating to watch him leave. But the times that he gave me made all of this worth it, man. It really does. I don't know what he's going to go on to do, but whatever he goes on to do, he's going to be fucking elite at it because he has that mentality. I love him to death. Like, I genuinely do. Yesterday, like, when I was trying to think of how Liverpool looked without Mohamed Salah, it just brought me to tears. Like, it sucks. I've had some time to think about it throughout the whole of the season, and man, it's just something else. What he's given us as Liverpool fans is just something else. This is like I told you yesterday when we were having a beer. This is our Thierry Henry. The effect that he's had on our football club. So Mohamed Salah, you're almost definitely not listening, but I love you, man. I really do.
Yeah. My favorite Mohamed Salah, and one of my favorite football stats ever, and I actually told my friend who's also a Liverpool supporter, is that after Mohamed Salah came to Liverpool, like, hate crimes against Muslim people dropped by 18%.
Really? That's an interesting stat.
Yeah, like, it's football's huge, man. Like, football does things, and yeah.
That's a really good way of capping that one off. Let's say goodbye to the Flying Scotsman.
Yes.
Robertson, to me, is the embodiment of Liverpool Football Club. Liverpool, throughout their history, have had some really impactful Scottish players. Billy Liddell, Ian St. John, Kenny Dalglish, Graham Souness. Not even a football player, but Bill Shankly, the guy that made all of this possible. Liverpool have had every successful Liverpool team has had a jock in it, and Andy Robertson was ours in this one. Andy Robertson is like I said, just his attitude, his ability to keep going and going and going, no matter what the situation is. His loyalty to the football club, his humour as well was really important in the dressing room. He is the best left back to ever play for Liverpool Football Club. And quite frankly, I think he's one of the best left backs in the Premier League era. He changed what the fullback role looks like with his partner on the other side, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Both of them hold the Premier League assist records for defenders. They're both the top two. Trent is first, and then Robertson is second. Signed $8 million from Hull. And I remember Jurgen famously said about Andy Robertson, if you can defend like you attack, you can be one of the best in the world. And something he said about Robertson is, as soon as Robertson was told that, he fucking relentlessly pursued being a better defender. And I can say, like, the difference between him and Trent is, yes, they were both productive offensively, but Robertson was a much better defender than Trent. Really rarely defended with the same fervor that he had attacking. Just an incredible football player for Liverpool, and another really sad one for me.
Yeah.
What do you think of Robertson?
Yeah, I think whenever I saw Robertson in the lineup sheet, whenever we played him before I started watching Liverpool a bit more, like, I just knew that we're going to have a hard night, not only trying to get the ball through and into the net, but also on that counterattack. Like, he scared me, man. That's like, he has changed what that left back position looks like in the league. And I think, we talk about how Pep has changed football. I think Pep looked at Robertson and was like, yeah, I need to get a guy like that every single time I make a team. And I think that's really what teams now do. Like, he has really defined a role in a club. I remember when we picked up Tierney, I was like, oh wait, we get our own little Robertson. I'm so excited for this. Nothing like, can't compare those two, but still, like, he is a huge part of I think what Liverpool is. And I think he just seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Like
Genuine.
we get to see all these, like, social media stuff about different teams and stuff, and, like, anytime I see something about Robbo, it's just like, man, I just want to be friends with this guy. He seems like a cool guy to be friends with.
And I think the important part of Robertson is, regardless of, like, all of the fame and the fanfare, the guy never changed. Like, he was always that same guy. There was a really famous tweet circulating a few years ago, and he tweeted when he was basically unemployed, he said, having no money at this age is shit. I need a job. And he goes on to play left back for Liverpool. It's remarkable. Let me give you some of the best moments from my perspective as a Liverpool fan when it comes to Andy Robertson. Liverpool were heading towards like a pretty bad defeat. It was in that league season where we win 26 games in a row. At 1-0, I was kind of fearing the worst. It was really late in the game. Andy Robertson pops up at the back post and scores a header against Villa. And honestly, what he does is he doesn't celebrate. He picks up the ball, puts it in the centre spot, and Mane goes on to score the winner. That goal for me was the catalyst of, yeah, we're not fucking around. You know, like this is a Premier League winning side, especially after the pain of the year before of getting 97 points and not winning the league. And he said that, you know, like he said, I watched a really good documentary Sky Sports did on him in the last couple of days where wasn't a documentary, it's like an interview. It was Gordon Strachan and Ian Wright. And he said, like, in that season, all of the Liverpool players went in with the same idea, like, we cannot afford to lose a game because we know the pain of what losing the game. And he also said, like, what cost us that year before was the draws. So we can't draw games either. We have to win. And they fucking do that, man. They go 26-0 by the time they lose a game. It's just craziness. And that was the start of it for me. It's like this relentless pursuit of glory. And that goal was definitely a big embodiment of that. The really big Barcelona moment at Anfield, the 4-0 comeback against Barcelona is really remembered for like Trent's corner, Origi's finish, Wijnaldum's goals, the atmosphere on the night. But Robertson's tone, like Robertson's role in setting the tone for that game should not and cannot be forgotten. James Milner at the start of all of the games used to like sit in the dressing room and say, "What someone here has to set the tone." What that means is you have to go thundering into a challenge. You have to show that Liverpool are not easy to play against. And what Robertson does in this game, he played with this fucking attitude and this edge that just, although he had to come off injured, he did this thing to Messi. I don't know if you've ever seen this back, but he tackles Messi. Messi falls on the floor. Robertson pulls it forward. And Robertson just grabs some of Messi's hair and throws him to the floor as he runs past him. And it's funny because Robertson always says now, like, he hates that that's played back because he's doing that to probably the best player ever. But it was just this relentless attitude he has, like, not today, Lionel, not today. And that was amazing. Like, his first half performance was really important for us because of how much danger they had going forward. And where for me that night was about belief, chaos, and pressure we could put on them, Robertson is the pure embodiment of all of that for Liverpool. And that's why I picked that as one of the really important moments. Another one is that funny one against Man City. Everyone remembers this. Like, if you've ever seen Robertson's highlight reel, the crowd is kind of quiet, but Robertson basically chased half the City team across the pitch, basically hunting the ball like a fucking dog. The first one, Liverpool cheer. The second one, Liverpool cheer even louder. And by the end of it, the whole of the stadium is screaming for Robertson to win the ball. I still don't think that's a foul on Otamendi, by the way. I will say that. He should have won the ball back. It kind of landed to Firmino, but they called the foul. That was an amazing moment. Like, that is... It's funny, actually, because I'll actually go back to something Oxlade-Chamberlain said. Oxlade-Chamberlain, when he was interviewed, kind of just as he joined Celtic, he was interviewed by the Anfield Wrap. He basically said he's never seen a situation where fans cheer for pressing actions like they do goals or assists. And he always said, like, I could do all of that. I could do that all the time. Like, I can just run around and close people down and people are going to love me every bit as much. Absolutely, I'm going to do that. And Robertson is definitely that guy too. And that was a really iconic moment, like relentless, fearless, completely bought into like that idea of what Klopp's football was. Amazing moment. And then the derby goal against Everton. I've seen people leave this one off. It wasn't a great goal, don't get me wrong, but any player scoring against the Toffees is important for me. Everton were making the game fucking nasty, really frustrating us. It was a horrible game to watch. And then Robbo popped up with the breakthrough. Like I said, it wasn't the prettiest goal, but it was incredibly satisfying given like the opponent and the timing of the goal. It was incredible. But those are the moments for me. I would say, like I kind of alluded to at the start, Andy Robertson is the embodiment of what Liverpool Football Club is. He is the identity of that era. And if any of the players that we sign or any of the players that are currently in that Liverpool squad can have an ounce of that mentality, Liverpool will be secured going into the future. Anything else to add, Ben?
No, I think you're losing two major icons in the dressing room, and I think this is like the time for the others to kind of step in and step up. And do the things that these two men have done for the football club. And there's a sadness to it, but there's also kind of an excitement. You know, you have Rio, who's just a wonderful footballer on the other side. I think he has an opportunity to kind of like show what this next generation
Yeah.
can be. And yeah, I think it's a celebrated moment. I am glad that you were able to do that and watch those moments. I know how important that is to you. If it was any other day, I probably would have been like, yeah, man, if you're cool with it, let me watch it with you. But there was other things I need to get done yesterday. So glad you were able to celebrate them together.
Yeah, man. Goodbye to both of them. Like, in the sincerest way I can put possible. Thank you so much for playing for the football club and just letting me. I moved to like this country away from like all of my family and friends, like my Liverpool supporting family and friends, and they have made the last 10 years really of my life like the best 10 years of my life footballing wise I could have had, and that was even considering the fact that I moved away from my family. So thank you, Robertson. Thank you, Mo. I'll remember it for the rest of my life, that is for sure. In terms of what's coming up for the Regista Football Podcast, later this week we will have another episode. Huge game on the weekend between Arsenal and PSG in the Champions League final. We're going to be reviewing that. And we're also going to be bringing you our end of season Premier League awards. So we have quite a lot of cool segments we're going to bring in for that, like different awards that we're going to be giving out for that. So stay tuned for that. Anything else to add, Ben, before we sign out?
No, wonderful season. Let's get ready for UCL, and we'll catch you all later.
Peace, guys.